Hey, what's up? This is Mikey for Electrek, and I'm really excited to talk to you about one of the most exciting new EVs on the market. I've spent a solid week driving the Volkswagen ID.4 and frankly living the VW lifestyle. Volkswagen says it's an electric car for the millions, not the millionaires. And as one of the former, this vehicle fits perfectly into my day. I've got about 1,000 miles under my belt so far, and I've found quite a bit to love. So, let's take a look. Thanks for watching Electrek. Okay, with the Volkswagen ID.4, let's just go ahead first and talk about range. A lot of new electric car buyers are understandably worried about range. Now, the EPA estimate is 250 miles for the Pro S version that I drove here. That's about 6 times what the average American drives in a day. I've owned a compliance EV for years, and that has trained me to be hyper-vigilant about charging. As a force of habit, I was way too cautious, but it turns out that I didn't need to recharge the ID.4 as much as I had initially planned. Some companies seem to be overzealous when stating the range of their vehicle, but driving around the heat of the Utah summer canyons, I was pleasantly surprised with what the ID.4 could do. I'm really happy I got to experience my first long-range EV trips with the ID.4. We took the opportunity to drive all over the place. Trips to the store were a breeze. Driving up the hills of Salt Lake City was especially spry. That's thanks to the electric drivetrain. We even drove out to the country to pick up Grandma to babysit, allowing for a special date night with the missus. Alright, I won't say that it was very special, but it was a special night. I mean, she's special, wives will that they... Let's talk about landmarks, shall we? So Utah has a lot of really good landmarks, and we went to some. One on the north end of the Salt Lake and another in central Utah. The northern trip required diligent driving at freeway speeds because of the, I guess we'll call it, competitive culture that surrounds Utah's I-15. Now, the accelerated punch of an EV motor was a lot of fun on the ID.4, and the turning radius is surprisingly compact. This power at any speed really kind of overcame the weight and size of the vehicle, making it handle more like a sedan. I never thought that a compact SUV would feel this nimble. Now, I've left from my home in the valley to the Spiral Jetty, about 110 miles away. As the first trip, I didn't want to chance it, so I stopped at an Electrify America charger in Brigham City for a quick top-off. Entering the dirt road along the lake, I was worried that the range would be noticeably affected by the rough terrain. But nonetheless, we made it there. I snagged one of the coolest shots that I've had on my bucket list, and we even stopped to explore the Mars-like terrain of the Great Salt Lake. Turning around to get back to the city, it turns out that my range concerns were unfounded. We didn't have to stop again to charge at all. In fact, we just blasted past Brigham City, and we arrived home with plenty of charge for the next day. Mission complete. Now, I can't promise you that kind of range how you drive and where you live, but at least in my experience, the ID.4 lasted the entire trip. That distance is also determined by the charger network. Volkswagen uses the sister company Electrify America. Although any CCS charger will do just fine, there is a particular benefit to Electrify America. It's actually a really big deal because Volkswagen is offering new ID.4 buyers 3 years unlimited charging at Electrify America's DC fast chargers. Now, I'm old enough to remember when the term free long distance meant something very different. Now, the network has representation spanning the country, and smaller locations are getting coverage as time goes on. Operating the charger wasn't hard to figure out either. If you can buy gasoline, you can figure out how to use an Electrify America charger. Now, charging at home every day with a regular 110-volt charger, that'll get you through most everyday drives. If you regularly use EVs for long trips, or if you forget to charge like my wife says that I do, but I totally don't, then you'll want to get a level 2 charger installed at your home. For me, most of my charger trips were actually on the road. Now, next on the list was the Little Grand Canyon, another site out in the middle of nowhere. You can tell that I like that. This central Utah trip has a lot of elevation change, long turns, and canyon driving. And actually, I got to drive a portion of it at night, and I'm glad that I did. The ID.4 got to shine at night. Like the headlights, they shine. Get it? The dynamic headlights turn with the turn of the vehicle, illuminating the road where you're headed. This is actually an amazing feature on poorly lit roads, adding a lot of peace of mind. Now, the automatically dimming brights were a new and awesome feature to me, but I'm told that people have had these for years, and that's great. Inside the car, my wife got to play with the mood lighting, which made her feel at home. And did I already say that I enjoy driving the car at night? Because it was a world of difference from the compliance EV that is barely good enough, and yes, I'm speaking from experience. Now, sitting in the ID.4 for so long, I took the time to notice more of the interior and driver interface. The back seat was very spacious, which is a welcome sight for anyone with kids, and my little girl absolutely loves the glass window. The main touchscreen is simple enough to understand, and for me it had plenty of depth to the settings and controls. I'm really glad that I got the quality time with the car. You can actually connect your phone to the vehicle for additional features, such as destinations or a contact list, and that makes it more integrated into your daily life. Buttons exist for fun stuff like the sunshade, and I was actually quite content using them as it stands. But you can actually use voice commands to control some things in the ID.4, and believe you me, my little girl loved this too.
Hello, ID. Close the sunshade.
Closing the sunshade.
A brief note on the comfort side of things, the seats had an immense amount of adjustability and available room, and I especially love the dual climate control, but especially my wife. Now, aside from comfort, there's a lot to talk about in terms of performance and features. The ID.4 features IQ Drive with hands-on semi-autonomous capability, along with an array of other driver assistance features. This feature pack helped me keep in the center of the lane and an appropriate follow distance on cruise control, something that was totally new to me. Now, keeping attentive to the wheel, the ID.4 itself assisted in the curves of the road with seemingly magic powers. I rode this way for about 30 miles until I reverted back to good old-fashioned human driving. Now, changing gears, I took the ID.4 off-road, and it actually did quite fine. It's about the limit of what I'm comfortable doing off-road, so I can only imagine what the upcoming all-wheel drive version can tackle. And by the way, that all-wheel drive version will be coming this fall. I got to try out the ID.4 in the pouring rain. At one point, it started raining cats and dogs here in town, so I broke out the phone, parked the car, and snagged a couple of shots. I personally didn't push it in the rain, but the ground clearance and tire choice were greatly appreciated, and visibility was right on target. The ID.4 features plenty of cargo room, and the rear hatch has a lot to do with that. Instead of the usual efficient aerodynamic teardrop profile of a lot of EVs, Volkswagen chose for a more acceptable rear hatch to fit more cargo. This comes in handy for a number of ways, but if nothing else, the car just looks more normal. Being a compact SUV, the visibility is great because of that higher stance, and it's actually pretty wide of obstacle clearance that could be really useful. The suspension was kind of stiff, but it was more of a German engineering sort of way. Under the hood, I found a tight compartment with all the fluids and maintenance access. The battery pack is largely underneath the vehicle, which is a huge improvement in balance and weight distribution over a gas SUV. And one thing that I didn't expect was the auto shutoff feature. Anytime I got out of the driver's seat, the car would turn off. Let's talk turkey. The Volkswagen ID.4 has an MSRP of $39,995, and it goes up to the Pro S version, which I drove here, for $44,495. It's actually competing head-to-head with the Tesla Model Y, and it's in the same ballpark as the Mustang Mach-E or the upcoming Hyundai Ioniq 5. However, these numbers aren't exactly equal, and there are other factors at play. At the time of recording, Tesla does not qualify for the potential federal tax credit of $7,500, and Volkswagen actually does. This very well could change in the future, but as it stands, the Volkswagen could pencil out to a significant cost advantage. I think that someone looking to go electric for the first time would really enjoy the Volkswagen ID.4. It's not too intimidating to get into, it's not weird, it's a really smooth, quiet transition into electric driving. Has a lot of really good benefits, has the Electrify America charging perk, immensely pragmatic features, has a lot of great ideas, and that range that I had never before experienced. So there's my 2 cents on it, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching Electrek, and thank you to Volkswagen, and I will see you guys on later.